Alright, anybody who knows anything about wild mushrooms knows exactly what we're looking at here. This is the yellow morel mushroom. Morel mushrooms are of the family, the Morchella family of mushrooms. And, sorry about the dog noise. I got a dog following me. These are by far America's favorite mushroom. I'm sure the same can probably be said in Europe and other places where they grow. But here in the Midwest, I mean, it borderlines on obsession with people, with morels. I know people who don't even really care at all about foraging or wild edibles. But when morel season comes around, they're out in the woods looking for these treasures. Little one there. Now, why is it? Why are people so crazed about this mushroom? They sell for pretty good prices. I know some people who get out and find them every spring just to sell them. Well, first and foremost, I would say, is their superior taste. That one was bent over under a stick. Probably couldn't push up past it. But yeah, this is just an excellent eating mushroom, even when they're smushed. But besides that, I mean, yeah, I know people who don't even like mushrooms, but they love morels, and they get out there and look with the masses every spring. Look for morels. And besides that, they have a very short growing season. They're really only here for 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 weeks out of the year. I'm sure somebody will say 6. I don't know what the longest season is for morels, but it's generally here in the Ozarks. Coincides with the month of April. I'm just going to take you with me as I look around here a little bit and talk a little bit. I'm going to look under these May apples. Generally coincides with the month of April. Sometimes a little earlier, sometimes they stay a little later, depending on the weather conditions. This year was a really warm winter and a warm spring, so people started finding them in mid-March this year. Right now it's March 31st, and I've found a handful, maybe about a dozen or so over the last couple of weeks. Just spotting 1 or 2 here and there. I was hoping to find my first good batch of them today. We'll see how that goes. But boy, they blend in with the ground, the leaf litter sometimes. But yeah, springtime is when they pop up. They say generally when the soil temperature about 4 inches down reaches about 50 degrees is when they'll start producing. And that, like I said, that came early this year. But kind of going right along with that theme, the fact that they have a short growing season, is the fact that they are extremely difficult to cultivate, if not impossible. I know people have tried. I know there are places online that sell the spore kits, and I've seen videos of guys doing their morel beds and planting the spores. And I've seen 1 or 2 follow-up videos of someone saying, hey, look, I got my first morel, or my first 2 morels, but I've never seen somebody post a follow-up video that showed lots and lots of morels in their morel bed. There we go. So I don't know that it's ever been done successfully on a large scale on a consistent basis. I think a lot more people would be selling them if that were the case. You can buy them dehydrated online, but they're pricey, and I think think that the price would go down if they were easier to produce. For some reason, the conditions can seem perfect, but they only grow where they want to grow. And they say that they actually form a relationship with the roots of dying trees, and they feed off the dying root system. Something about the dying roots. I don't know if it's something they're giving off or what. But lots of people have different trees that they like to look around. By far the most popular seems to be elm. They seem to love elm trees. Oh, there's a little tiny one. I don't know if I should leave that and come back. But there's a bigger one right here. They love elm trees, dying elm trees. Some people say ash. Some people say sycamore. Some people say cottonwoods. Apple trees is another one. I've even heard people say cedars. And I went to a Mycological Society meeting last year where somebody was talking about that, and he's like, you know what? Whatever tree you think they grow around, that's the tree you're going to find them around, because that's the tree you're going to look around most often. Which makes sense. Right here I'm in a little grove of apple trees, and right down underneath them, sure enough, they grow around apple trees. One thing I will say about picking them around apple trees, an old orchard or something like that, is you don't want to pick them if it's a place where they've been sprayed. If they used to spray for bugs and things, the toxins in the ground from the chemicals can be absorbed by the mushrooms and will be in there. You don't want to eat that. But I happen to know the owner of these apple trees, and I know that he's never sprayed them, so I feel pretty safe about that. There's another good one back there. So yeah, they taste wonderful. They don't have a very long growing season. They're almost impossible to cultivate and produce on any kind of large scale, any kind of commercial way. Besides all that, they just look incredibly cool. They have sort of this mystical, fairy tale-ish kind of look, like something you'd see in Middle Earth. Well, it probably just adds to the mystique a little bit. But that just adds to the craze in the springtime here, man. People love morel mushrooms. Look at that. Hiding under the leaves. Sometimes they're just so hard to see. Now the yellow morel is one of 3 species here in Missouri that grow. The black morel is another one. The blacks have a really dark cap, sort of a dark brown, dark gray, almost completely black sometimes. People say they come up a little bit earlier in the spring than the yellows do. And some people say that they taste better. Now, personally, I've had a few blacks, but I haven't ever consciously tried them side by side to see which one I think tastes better. So I don't really know, but I like the yellows just fine. I'm happy with them. I've never really had a whole lot of luck finding blacks. I don't know if it's because I don't know the right spots, or if I just don't have a good eye for them, because they are harder to see. They really, really blend in with the ground. As do these. But there's also a morel mushroom here in Missouri called a half-free morel. Now the half-free morel, this is the cap, this is the stem or the stalk. The half-free morel, probably about that much of it would be the cap, and about 3/4 of it would be the stem. And the other thing is, with the blacks and the yellows, the cap is connected to the stalk, whereas the half-free is free of the stalk. The cap would actually have a gap there in between the cap and the stalk. But they are all edible. They are all very, very good eating. Now some people, especially in these parts, they talk about finding gray morels. These might be what they refer to as grays, I'm not sure. The gray morel is not actually an official species. Could be that it's just a certain color phase. Could be that it's a young yellow. These I know are yellows because I've found them in this spot before. But they are looking gray right now because we just got a ton of rain last night. And so they're kind of waterlogged, kind of saturated. I dropped a couple of them here. I'm just putting them in my bag here. Look at this, I almost stepped right on one. These are kind of small yet. I'm going to come back to this spot in a week or so when we get some warmer weather. Hopefully they'll start coming in greater numbers. If they do, I'll probably redo this video.